Hello, everyone. Welcome to another special webinar for LAM students. Today, we shall be focusing on floating pulses, otherwise known as hollow pulse or scallion stalk or Kou Mai. So far, we have taken up four floating pulses. So there are six. So floating, surging, soggy, scattered. And for today, for this week, we shall be discussing hollow pulse, and next week, drum skin pulse. The hollow pulse is floating, okay? And it is large with an empty center. So imagine a scallion stalk. This indicates loss of blood and damaged yin. So if you remember when you yin and blood are related, no? So parang synonymous sila. Although yin would be more of the umbrella for the blood. Okay. The hollow pulse is due to extreme loss of blood, insufficient yin and blood, or extreme damage to body fluids, drained vessels, the yin being damaged and yang unable to adhere to it, and then becoming scattered on the outside. This pulse, like the empty pulse, is superficial and it is forceless, without strength. The difference between hollow pulse and empty pulse is that when you push down to the middle level, the hollow pulse disappears completely. No? There is disagreement in the text about what happens if you push further down to the deep level. Some books write that you will feel the pulse again, that is the hollow pulse at the deepest level, others that you will not. Some also state that the edges of the pulse can be felt clearly when you roll your fingers back and forth across the pulse. The reason that the pulse is called the scallion stalk is that it feels like the stem of a spring onion. If you put your finger,
Gano?
yeah.
Kaya nakita dala mo gina.
Kala ko ano, reaction. Okay. If you put your fingertips on a scallion stalk, it will feel round and wide, but also frail and without strength. There is nothing in the center of it, and a void will be felt when you press harder. The middle level of the pulse reflects, we all know this, the condition of blood and the stomach and spleen. Emptiness in this middle level will therefore be interpreted as more a severe deficiency condition than if there was an empty pulse that was not empty in the middle level. So the patterns of imbalance would be yin deficiency, blood deficiency, qi deficiency, and the jing deficiency. So again, the pulse is wide and soft when touched lightly and hollow when seeking. With pressure, the edges of the vessel are clearly felt, but the center is obscure. The hollow pulse feels like a scallion or green onion stalk, which has an edge but is hollow on the inside. Key points: it is floating, wide and slack with an obscure center. So indications: if it is hollow and forceless, it means there is loss of blood. If it is hollow and rapid, there is yin depletion. The hollow pulse shows a solitary yang without yin. After loss of blood, the yin and blood cannot fill up the vessel and contain the yang qi. The yang loses its anchor and floats to the superficial layers. This is the reason why you don't feel anything at the middle level. In biomedicine, there is sudden and severe bleeding that reduces circulatory blood volume, but blood vessels have not yet contracted, leading to the hollow pulse. The pulse is categorized as a yang pulse, but because it is not rooted, it is a sign of severe deficiency. Okay, so this is the hollow pulse, a pulse which feels floating, big, soft, under slight pressure, but without substance at the center under heavier pressure. This is called hollow pulse. It is like a spring onion, which feels strong at the edge, but without strength inside. Siguro naman, you've experienced holding a spring onion, no? Especially yung mga chef. So superficially, it feels full, but at the deeper level, it feels empty. The hollow pulse must not be confused with the empty and leather pulse. Leather pulse, we shall discuss this next week, no? Or the drum skin pulse. The hollow and empty pulses are both floating and big, but the hollow pulse is floating, big, and soft, while the empty pulse is floating, big, and slow. The hollow pulse and leather pulse both feel strong superficially and lack strength deeply, but the hollow pulse feels strong and soft superficially, while the leather pulse feels strong and wiry superficially. The hollow pulse always appears after a severe loss of blood, while the leather pulse appears after loss of blood and Jing with deficient cold diseases. Clinical significance. External excess with internal deficiency is usually caused by heavy pathological bleeding. Perverse fire which penetrates the three yang causes heavy spitting of blood, vomiting of blood, or nosebleeds. Perverse fire which penetrates the three yin causes blood in the stools or uterine bleeding. The hollow pulse usually appears after bleeding. Blood loss, which prevents blood from nourishing the heart, causing irritability and palpitations. So now you understand why you have palpitations when you have bleeding. No? It produces a hollow pulse felt at the Tsun position. Severe vomiting of stomach blood produces hollow pulse felt at the Quan position. In diseases where there is blood in the urine, red dysentery, blood in the stools, or uterine bleeding, the hollow pulse can be felt at the Shi position. Okay, so we're done with the hollow pulse or the Kou Mai or the Scallion Stalk pulse. Now we shall proceed to assessment. We will have 10 questions. Let's get into it. Mom Tricks.
Yes, Doc.
Okay, please identify the pulse. So,
It's floating pulse or Kou Mai.
wow, very good. Felt with light touch, fades with pressure, but it does not disappear. Okay, it does not disappear. Okay. Fades lang. Nagfe-fade lang siya. Next, empty inside, hollow vessel, solid outside, empty within.
It's a hollow scallion stalk pulse or Kou Mai.
Very good. Superficial, shallow, fine and soft, small, forceless. Para siyang cotton. Thin, push through it and it disappears. It lacks root.
Saggy pulse or Rou Mai.
Yeah. I would suggest that everyone should also memorize the Chinese name. Now, because other books will have different names for the pulse. Just like slippery, diba? It's in other books will tell you it's rolling pulse. And so it's very important. It is suggested that you memorize the Chinese name. This pulse feels chaotic, uneven, like fireworks. Original chi is scattering, only felt on the superficial level.
It's a scattered pulse or San Mai.
Yeah. Or dispersed pulse. Very good. Ay. Arrives long and strong, floating and departs debilitated like a roaring wave that hits the rocks and fades away. Grabe yung description. No? Parang hindi ko tuloy, pag nakikita ko yung mga waves, surge, yeah, Hong Mai. This is the opposite of faint pulse. What's your answer, madam?
It's surging pulse or Hing Mai.
Yes. Oh,
Hong Mai.
akala ko yung pronunciation na Hing Mai. Okay, so bigla ko okay. Baka yun nga tayo siguro. I'm not so sure. Now, please describe the soggy pulse, the characteristic.
Soggy pulse is superficial, soft, weak, and thin. It becomes weak under heavy pressure.
Okay. You can obtain this by light pressure. No? So ito na yung sinasabi natin parang cotton. No? Floating, thready, soft in pulsation, flexible, obtained by light pressure. What is the etiology of the soggy pulse?
The dampness is obstructing the vessels, or the chi and blood are unable to fill the vessels, giving it its soft quality. This is distinguished from other floating pulses, which tend to be large or
Very
wide.
good. So think of dampness, which causes obstruction of the vessels or the chi and blood. No? Okay, clinical significance of the soggy pulse.
Indicates sufficiency of chi and blood and dampness syndrome.
Yes. Spleen deficiency, chi deficiency, yang deficiency. Okay, analysis ng floating pulse, excess case.
A floating pulse indicates external syndrome, floating and powerful pulse signifying external excess syndrome, while floating and weak pulse manifesting external asthenia syndrome.
So when the exterior of the body is attacked by pathogenic factors, the defensive chi will hold them, thus driving the vital chi to the skin surface, giving rise to floating pulse.
Mhm.
What about the deficiency case of the floating pulse?
The insufficiency of vital chi and floating, lack of energy and strength due to chronic disease may also lead to floating and feeble tongue.
Okay. So for those with chronic illnesses, chronic disease, you will expect to have floating pulse as well, the deficiency type. Thank you so much, everyone, for
Thank
your
you,
time.
Doc.
Thank you very much.